Hello and welcome to our news conference today. My name is Norman Solomon. I am the National Coordinator of RootsAction.org, and the organization which is the 501c4 that sponsors Roots Action, which is called Action for a Progressive Future, has sponsored research for the autopsy on the Democratic Party that has been released this week. The Democratic National Committee and the National Democratic Party as a whole has declined to do an autopsy, which is unusual, especially after a national loss. The losing party especially is usually eager to conduct an autopsy and assess what went wrong and try to make it better for the future. That was not the case this time. And so it was a responsibility, in a sense, for people to pick up the thread, to take the step of initiating and implementing a detailed, in-depth autopsy, not only to look back at the 2016 election, but at this stage, much more importantly, to go forward to see what can be learned from that experience, so that the tragedy of the 2016 election won't be repeated. And so an independent task force went ahead and conducted what we are calling Autopsy, the Democratic Party in Crisis. It's a 33-page document. It's public and available to anyone, any organizations or individuals, to repost and republish in its entirety. We're on the web at democraticautopsy.org. That's democraticautopsy.org. The autopsy report begins with an analogy that after a train wreck, it's essential when investigators come in for them to understand why the train wreck occurred. And that's most important to try to assess the factors that were preventable. And rather than trying to concentrate on pointing fingers on factors beyond the control of those running the railroad system and so forth, the emphasis, understandably, is on what was done that could have been prevented, that could have been done differently. And contrary to the approach that the National Democratic Party and the DNC have taken in the last year, this autopsy concentrates not on pointing fingers at other real or alleged factors external to the operations and policies and priorities of the party, but quite the opposite. The autopsy focuses on what the party did, what it didn't do, and especially in retrospect, what should have been done differently and what must be done differently to meet the twin goals that are focused on in this autopsy. The first being to defeat the right-wing Republican juggernaut, and the second to be advanced for the long-term, genuinely progressive policies in this country.